Welcome back to another episode of Excuse My Grandma. It's Kim and my co-host,
Grandma Gail.
And today we are joined by a very special guest, Stephanie Nass. Others might know her as Chefany Nass. Stephanie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm such a fan. It's so nice to be here.
Oh, that's so
you
nice to hear.
You guys are amazing.
We're excited. We're going to see all the goodies you do afterwards and want to hear all
Stephanie
about your...
brought us some gifts, and if you don't already know her, you have to look on her Instagram because there's beautiful tablescapes, amazing hosting tips. She has a book coming out September 24th, available for pre-order now, called Swing By. So we're going to talk about all of that. But Stephanie, let's talk about how you first got interested in hosting and entertaining.
So I first got interested in this because it was really part of my family. We would really celebrate dinner together as a whole event. And obviously the holidays were much more than that. And my mom is an amazing cook. And my father, is an art collector and sort of a Renaissance man. And they just had the most interesting guests. And it really felt like love. It felt like a hug when they had people together. And when I was 16, I moved to France. I lived with a host family in Brittany. So it was very different from where I came from, and I loved it. And that year, 16 and 17 years old, I started taking cooking lessons with this French woman named Madame Pellicot, and I just loved it. And I knew from that point onward, I wanted to do something with the culinary arts. And, it was iterative from that point onward in terms of, maybe I wanted a food blog, maybe I wanted catering. But I went to Columbia undergrad. I studied art history. I did 2 days of the week with classes the full day. And then I worked at restaurants on the other days. Oh. So anyway, I started catering. And then from that came my tableware business. And that's what I do now.
What was a specific family tradition that you kind of brought with you into your own hosting?
Really making an event out of a meal. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a big difference between just throwing a potato on a paper plate versus buying a very beautiful, locally sourced potatoes, mandolining it, and then putting it on a beautiful plate. I just think the difference in those two experiences is so, so great. And I obviously am more interested in the latter and the presentation and really just every single detail of a dish.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's very French, too.
What?
Well, the way a plate is displayed and how you have the food displayed, each little thing matters.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I feel like I learned that on cooking shows.
Well, that's what we all now are learning that. Yeah. But it is an art.
Right.
As Stephanie knows. I mean, that truly is an art. Mm-hmm. And somehow my plate never quite looks like the ones we see on television. Maybe yours better.
Not.
I'm really not good at it
at all.
I envy it. I think it's wonderful talent.
Are you a good cook?
No, I can cook traditional Jewish food.
Okay, love it.
So the holidays are really my forte. Otherwise, it's a takeout.
Okay.
Because I have no one to cook for anymore. My husband and I, it's easier just to order in at this point or go out.
Yeah.
I used to love to do it when my kids were small.
Right.
Then we did. Every night we had dinner together.
Beautiful.
I mean, that was a must.
Don't you think that it keeps a family together?
Well, I think it keeps the family involved in what they're doing. I don't know if it keeps it together. Eventually everybody goes their own way anyway after they're in college. So, but it does make you think about traditions and what you would, say to your parents or your parents would say to the children about how they should be acting in school or how they should be coexisting with friends.
Right.
It was a conversation always at the dinner table.
Right. Yeah,
I think the conversation was more important almost than the food.
Sure.
But that turns into bonding, like when you're all learning about each other's lives and what they're doing, like naturally you're going to be closer and like more connected.
Yeah, I think that's true. But I think so much of today, and we'll discuss this, is so different from when I was growing up because people take jobs in different cities in different countries, as you were saying.
Right.
And you have to almost make an effort to make sure that the family gets together.
Right.
Whereas when I was growing up, nobody really moved more than 15, 20 miles away from each other.
Right.
So the family did stay together much more. And also when grandparents are involved, it's generational and children love to be there, I think, because I think they love the warmth of having other generations together. And as that disappears, it's sort of almost more of a solitary existence, which is sad.
Yes.
Did you ever have dinners at your grandparents growing up?
I was very close with my grandparents. So my maternal grandparents were 20, 21 when my mom was born.
Right.
And my mom was I was the oldest daughter. Child, and my mom was fully working when I was born, and my grandparents just really took care of me.
Yeah.
They brought me to the park, they brought me to the museums, they brought me to classes, and I was very, very close with my maternal grandparents. But my father's parents were much older,
Right.
so they weren't as involved.
Right. Well, that's what happens. One set well, in many cases, one set takes over, but in many cases, all of them get involved, and which is really very, very
So
nice.
nice.
But it's a tremendously warm feeling that children get from seeing different generations. I
Totally.
think that makes you it's comforting.
Yeah. Even subconsciously,
Yeah.
like
I mean, so many people love when Kimmy and I for that very reason, because their grandparents are no longer
It's so
around.
nice.
So they have an identity with us
Yeah.
having a conversation. So I really do agree. It's really special.
but I don't know if I've necessarily. Well, that's not actually true. I feel like I don't host that often, but when I do think of some of the things you've
Our
told
marshmallow, our
me.
sweet potato marshmallows a
That's
hit.
the best.
Sometimes recipes, but also like certain etiquette stuff. I mean, how important is that kind of thing when it comes to having a dinner party?
I believe in details, and
Yeah.
I like the place setting and the forks and
Right.
the knives and the plates and everything. So that's my aesthetic preference. But I think the food is really what people crave, and it brings people home. And I always say I'd rather eat at home than any restaurant. And it's just because my mom's cooking tastes so comforting. But I think it's everything all together, and I try to put effort into all of it.
So that's what your book is going to be on table settings plus some recipes from
70
you.
recipes.
Oh, very
So
exciting.
I went to culinary school
Right.
after college, and it's a mix of savory, sweet cocktails, but also flower arranging, table setting ideas. And then it's really like my philosophy. So it's a lot of prose, a lot of text.
That's wonderful.
I
That's
can't
great.
wait for you
I'm
to see
so
it.
excited.
I can't wait for you guys to see it.
What would you? This is just top of mind because I was on a date the other day and we were talking about. I forgot exactly what the term is called, but food that looks bad but actually tastes good.
Okay.
How do you feel about that kind of thing, or do you think things taste better and people are happier about things when it's like aesthetically pleasing?
I think, I don't think brisket is the most attractive
Right.
dish.
But it's still
but
good.
it's so good.
Yeah.
I don't know. My impulse is like to throw some fresh herbs on it
Right.
to like brighten it up or like put it in a beautiful platter. But, I think it's a mix. I think dessert has no excuse but to be beautiful.
Right.
Colorful ice creams or gelato, beautiful cakes. I don't know. I think it really depends. But I obviously prefer when it's visual too.
Of course. She's not looking for a corned beef or a pastrami sandwich or a tongue sandwich that your grandfather loves.
Yeah. Unless you can make that look a certain.
I don't think so. I don't think so. You have to
Can
just
you
go to
share-
Katz's and get your pastrami
Right.
and
It's
be
so
happy.
good.
Yeah.
It's so good. Where was the date?
Oh, this one was where we're talking about it. We went to Rafts.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's a good
an
restaurant.
amazing
Yeah.
restaurant. And it's hard to get a reservation.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. But we sat next to Eddie Redmayne, the actor.
Oh my gosh, you
and
love that.
I know. I'm seeing
You're
him
gonna-
in Cabaret next week. So I was like in my
Amazing.
happiest moment, which was
Wow.
great. Can you share any of the recipes that are going to be in the book, or that's all on lock?
No. There are plenty. So it's organized by party theme. There are 16 different themes
fun.
from standing parties, so like a cocktail party,
Yeah.
but not limited to cocktails. Seated dinners, holiday meals, outdoor parties. Those are the 4 organizing principles. And so it really varies. Like my mac and cheese recipe is delicious, and that goes in the category of not so beautiful, but
Casual.
really yummy.
Right.
To like how to make a meringue swan, and then what are you going to put on the back of the swan? So it's really a mix, but
For those who are chefs and who are non-chefs.
right.
So, which is very smart because, so many of the readers that you're going to get are young people who are just starting out. So if they get a taste of something that you do that's successful, that they can really present to their friends or their relatives or their boyfriend or girlfriend, they can then go on and be a little more advanced.
Yes. I also think young people do a lot of cooking for Instagram as their
Yeah.
audience. So there's plenty of like very photogenic
Yeah.
dishes for
So do you
those
think of that
people.
when you are creating recipes and tablescapes?
Yes, for sure. And I also think because once you've posted it, it's been seen, you have to mix it up.
Right.
So it's the same thing with clothes. Like I would, if I didn't have Instagram, I'd wear the same thing over and over. But once it's posted, it's like, okay, what am I wearing next?
Absolutely. We
See,
talk about
this
this
is we
all the
just
time.
talked about that today. It's ridiculous because not
crazy.
everybody is watching every time you post something.
No, but
girls.
they do. Like all my
Crazy.
friends who follow me, like I'm not going to wear the same thing to every wedding because that's strange.
You'd have to have 9. You should go really and get the things that you can rent for the night.
Well, that's
because-
why that became so popular.
know, they're
because
right.
With Instagram, once you post it, you don't want to wear it again. So
They couldn't come into my closet because I recycle for 20 years.
I know.
But that's real style.
No, but it really, it is so funny. We just discussed that. And I think you
crazy.
just, if you're with different people, it doesn't matter. Even if you're with the same people, you can put on a different set of earrings and a different bracelet and it looks different.
Maybe.
No, I'm telling you got to be a little more creative. Otherwise, your closets are bursting now.
Well,
Yeah.
I love the real because you can just sell it.
Well, that's what
That's
I
it,
have friends
yeah.
who wear it once and sell it. I never heard of that.
It's amazing. But it's like this whole circular economy of
Right.
clothes that's actually more sustainable.
Well,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
That is true.
And I went to my friend's closet sale last week and we all share and it's kind of nice.
That's a creative thing. That's
Yeah.
great.
She's
like
moving to
that.
London and I
Right.
bought a beach hat and I bought a big skirt and like plates and stuff.
So funny.
Oh, that's terrific.
It's nice to buy like that.
That's smart. That's really a smart
and like
thing.
I'm guessing not like you're not paying what she paid for it. Like it's a little discounted.
discount.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
But again, it's better for the earth.
Yeah.
Than
Yeah.
creating and
And something new, yeah.
manufacturing all this stuff all the time for one
Yeah.
wear.
What's your advice, especially to younger people who might not want to break the bank when they are hosting? Are there any like DIY tips or?
Well, I would say again for that secondhand,
Yeah.
you can really get bargains. And the flip side of that is fast fashion. Like H&M has homewares, which
Right.
are very
that's
inexpensive,
interesting.
but it just depends on your aesthetic taste. So if your taste is an H&M, you could go to a Salvation Army or an antique store and find new things. Or, you can also mix it up by folding a napkin a different way.
Right.
And a different napkin fold doesn't cost $1 more. So, just putting things together differently is a way to not break the bank. This isn't a luxury activity. This is just about showcasing your style for the people you love.
Okay. So should it always be a theme?
It doesn't have to be a theme. I love classic things, but for Instagram, I think Instagram loves a theme, but that's not real life. So I think if you want to collect over time, you start with 4 dishes and then you get another 4, and that becomes your classic place setting. That isn't thematic. That's just your style. Right. And so I think you can mix it up. If, you have an endless time and budget, you can do themes every time, but it doesn't have to be.
What do you typically do when you entertain grandma?
Well, I have beautiful china that I've collected, and that was my mom's, my grandmother's, my own, and I mix everything. I mix all the patterns together
So they're
because they're all
patterns
quite
and-
beautiful. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, I always love greens, so I have a lot of different green plates and different patterns, and gold goes with it, and white and gold. So, I used to entertain quite often. I haven't done that in a while, but you know what? Because now in the Hamptons, everything is so casual that I can't use those kind of things. They don't even look right out there.
Right.
So I tend to go with the more white and the more austere, and then put a flower napkin and beautiful. My great thing is the farm stands that have all the cut flowers.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Because they are just so beautiful. And for some reason, the women who arrange them, no matter which farm you go to, one is nicer than the next. So I always do that. And I have a Majelica collection out
Yeah.
there because I have a
Beautiful.
very old house, and I stick the flowers in it, and they look
Beautiful.
perfect. And so I think what Stephanie is saying, it's all about you. I think you have to put yourself into the decor and then think about your friends.
Right.
Do they like a barbecue? If they like, just steaks on the grill or hamburgers, don't try to do a very fussy meal. If they're into food, which many of your friends are, and my friends as well, then think out of the box. Do it a little more elegant.
Should it match the space? Like that in that your house in the Hamptons is like a barn kind of look, so that makes sense. But
well, I would tend to.
What if you're in a more
formal,
modern apartment or something?
I think not having it match is a little tone deaf. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and it's also so natural to just take the flowers from the environment you're in.
Yeah.
And at this time of year in the summer, flowers are so inexpensive and so easy to come by. So like that's a little inexpensive trick too.
Right. Yeah.
And I just think your vibe and your energy in the city is so different from your energy at the beach.
I think that's
you just
true.
want a different thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And even within the Hamptons, Montauk is a different vibe from Southampton.
Absolutely. And when we lived in Westchester, we used to do hay rides. We used to have we had a wagon that took the people around the neighborhood.
So
we had a
cute.
great time, and we threw hamburgers and hot dogs on the grill, and
Yeah.
people loved it.
Yeah.
cute.
It depends what your aesthetic is at that moment. Or
Okay, wait. So, for example, I just have white plates from Amazon in my pantry, and that's it. So, like for me, where am I starting? Where am I going?
All right, I'll send you some beautiful linens because I think linens are easier to switch out than plates. So maybe if you have one set of china, then cotton linens and linen linens and something else. But also if you have little vases, bud vases
you
I
have,
love.
right.
Okay.
You just pop a little flower, a couple flowers in each one, and you don't have to pull your hair out doing an elaborate thing.
Correct.
Right.
Also candles.
Candles. Okay. So there's candles, there's flowers.
But not scented candles.
Right.
They
I
have to
agree.
be on the table.
I think in the powder room or the
Right,
bathroom,
then you could do it.
scented
Right.
candle, but on the table, I think you're celebrating the fragrance of the food.
Right.
So you do an unscented candle.
Okay. What's another thing you could put on the table?
Little bowls of candy.
Oh, yeah.
Or little
that's cute.
pretzels or a little fruit or vegetables. That's a big trend right now.
Yeah,
is
I've seen
vegetable
that.
Vegetables.
centerpieces. You put cabbages.
Right.
And
that's
again,
cool.
They're beautiful.
That's not expensive. And you can, if you really want to, you can cook it after. Or apples.
So where can people get their inspo? Like searching on Instagram for
You
certain...
could get it from the farm stand. You could go to the farm stand and see what they have, and
Okay.
that's the inspo for everything else.
Right.
Or Instagram or Pinterest. I just think there's inspiration in every corner, and you just have to incorporate it into your life if you want to.
Yeah. I think it's fun. I feel like for so long, I don't know if this is relatable to anyone here, but like I was like, oh, I don't have time / have a reason to host a dinner party for people. But anytime I do it and spend the day putting the time and the effort in, it makes me happy and it makes the people who go happy, and there's great pictures out of it. So I don't know why we don't put the time and effort into it more. It feels like a luxury that like I'm not allowed to afford myself of, but of course I am.
Yes, you can.
course. Yeah.
And you have. And when you
I've
do
hosted
it,
like once.
no, you did your birthday in Florida, and you've done
Yeah, true.
things. You've done things. The difference is when everybody's busy and you're not really, everybody's sort of running around. So it's difficult. So you have to really say, you know what, July 4th, which is what
It's
I was
more, do
going
I
to
want to
discuss.
put the time and the money
Well,
in?
that's right.
Yeah.
And it's fun if you've got a group of friends that you can share it with.
Yeah. Right.
And if they're around and everybody says, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? And you say, you know what? Come to my house. Let's do something together, and I'll set it up and help. You do the drinks.
I know.
And
I feel like somehow I always loop people in.
well, that's
to
good.
Doing it for
me. But I think people like it.
And once
Yeah.
you have a husband, you can put him
Well,
to
then
work.
you
Right.
definitely can put him to work.
Right.
You can definitely put him to work.
Speaking of relationships, you're recently married.
Yes.
Want to hear all about how you met and all of that, but I guess the most important question is, does he help you with
He
hosting?
helps me with everything.
Okay, good.
He helps me morning, noon, and night. And when we host, he's from the cooking to the cleaning to the setup. He just, this is really my specialty area, but he's not shy and he's very generous with his time and everything. So he totally helps. We met last July at a party in the Hamptons, and we've been together ever since. We moved in 3 months after we met.
Wow.
And we got married 3 weeks ago. So 10 and a half months.
Perfect.
Total.
From meet to married.
Right. It's rare.
It's rare. But you know what? It's just like, it's so obviously my husband, and he's my best friend. And like our families have similar values.
Yeah,
It doesn't
well,
feel
that's-
foreign. It doesn't feel random. It just clicks.
It worked.
It
And you
just works.
realized that how quickly?
Pretty quickly. I would say in my vows on the day we got married, I just basically said I loved him from the moment I met him.
Oh, that's
which is
wonderful.
it's
That's
just
wonderful.
energetic.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a list. It wasn't a calculation. It was just an energy of like, this person is warm. He's, I feel safe with him. He's obviously brilliant. And I think it took him a moment longer. He's 10 years older than I am.
All right.
And it's men can get a little scared and spooked.
Well, I also think the older everybody gets, the more spooked they get.
Right.
And the men and the women. So, when you're 20, you don't have so many things that you're worrying about. By
Right.
the time you're in your 30s and 40s, there's
You've
all
seen a
kinds.
lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And so you're wondering, well, maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I'm not this. So
Right.
I think it's great.
But
think
I
it's
also
terrific.
think there's a trauma when you've dated so long.
Right.
You've had your heart broken and you're scared, so you hold
Right.
back.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we were very lucky. We lived at the beach all summer, both of us.
Right.
And so our dates weren't once a week
Right.
dinner.
It was
here and there. We were
concentrated.
all on the beach, going for walks, going to the farmer's market, the farmer stands. Like, it was everything. So I felt like I saw him so 360 quickly. And then we just didn't want to wait.
Well, why? That's right.
I
I
love
think
it.
that's right.
I do. I feel the same for multiple reasons. One, I do think it's easier to like fall in love with someone in an environment when you can do all those activities and it's not like drinks Friday, next week dinner Thursday, drinks again
Right.
Tuesday.
Right.
It's like that's very hard that
Well-
your whole relationship with someone is sitting at a dinner table across from them.
And you also get in your head.
You do.
Like, the texting part of it is just so unnatural.
Right.
And it's like a psychological, weird experience. Whereas when you're just together and laughing and sharing stories, it's a different thing.
Well, I tend to think that's correct, but I think the truth is, as you get older, you have the ability to have a schedule where you can make time for each other. You can't do that so readily when you're 22, 23, and they're working you 10 hours a day in an office. So
Right.
that also makes it easier. You're more mature. You know what you're looking for.
Right.
You can still do activity dates
No,
on
you
the
can
weekends
no,
or
you can do
whatever.
activity dates. But what I think Stephanie is saying, she really she had a concentrated relationship in a short period of
Momentum.
time, and I think it's great. I think it works. And I think the older you get, you got to look for that. You can't have a date once and then 4 weeks later, he's back
Right.
on the scene. He could be the
Right.
nicest person or she could be the nicest person in the
Right.
world, but you've already left 4 weeks in between.
Right.
So you really don't, then you'd have to date for years because
Right.
you really wouldn't have the
I
ability
agree.
to know what they're really like. So
And I think that's a red flag.
Yeah.
If the person isn't available,
Right.
you're not really wanting this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
David
Exactly.
and I are so excited to be married. We want to have a family.
Right.
And we're just on the same
different
page.
times. It's a different time in your life. I
Yeah.
think you hit it exactly at the right
Well,
moment.
you were ready to both prioritize each other.
Yes,
and the
exactly.
relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, as someone obviously who cares about hosting and events and everything, how were you always like thinking about your future wedding?
I was. I was engaged before,
Oh, okay.
and we called that off. And it was going to be at Westchester Country Club in a big hula
Right, a
baloo
big
thing.
wedding.
Okay.
And
How long of the planning did you get along in that time? We got engaged in December and called it off in August. Okay.
So is
So
that
you did
9
some-
months?
Well, it was
So you
a
did
lot.
plan it.
Planned and paid for.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Right. And then the wedding was supposed to be in October. But I was younger.
Right.
And it was really not about me. And this time, David
and that's so
I,
important.
What do you mean by that?
It's about families and issues and all kinds of other things that are not
for
important.
example, the ballroom at Westchester can hold 210 people.
Okay.
So there are 4 lists: my parents' list, the groom's parents' list, the groom's list, and my list.
Yeah.
So my parents obviously went first.
Yeah.
And they basically filled the room. And
Yeah.
then it was the groom's parents. And by the time it was my list, there were 20 seats left. So
Wow.
that really meant 10 friends.
Right.
Right.
And so it really wasn't my pals. It wasn't a party, but also I'm not a party person. I love storytelling. I love conversation. And so does David. And so this time we just wanted family.
Good.
My parents' house is a very happy place, and we didn't want a whole DJ. It's just not for us.
Right.
Right.
And we also didn't want to wait. like 6
For a
months
venue.
for this
For a
dress.
venue to become available.
No, we didn't want it. And it was so small that if it had rained, we would have done everything inside the house.
Right.
So we didn't need a tent. We didn't need all this stuff. We just had a beautiful huppah with our rabbi. And basically everyone there gave a toast.
Right, 'cause they
and
were
it was
personal.
just so touching.
So nice.
I was obsessed with the flowers and my looks. And, and we had a fabulous caterer. And it was just like a lovely dinner party with a lot of storytelling.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
So did you pick all of the stuff or?
I made all the plates,
Oh, wow.
all the linens. We did all custom tablecloth cut.
All chefing.
Yeah, I live for this.
Right.
So of course for the wedding, I had a special cocktail napkin for before the ceremony, a special cocktail napkin for dessert. It was just
She just did it on a smaller scale.
Right.
It was manageable by herself.
right, which is another benefit of having a smaller wedding. If you have X budget for 300 people and the same budget for a smaller group, you can, have the best of everything.
True.
It's interesting. I was just thinking when I got married, we had a little over 200 people.
Yeah.
We gave everybody 50.
Everybody what?
50, 50, 50, 50 people. So everybody could invite either 25 couples or 50 singles or whatever it was. But
Right.
that was the thing. Everyone, it was straight down the middle. 50 couples, 50 people for you, 50 for them.
I have no idea what most people do.
Well, they
Like,
have
not
to.
enough of
It
my
depends.
friends.
It depends. A lot of
depends.
people don't even want to have parents' friends, or very
Right.
few, and have mostly their friends.
Right.
That it's. It depends the age of you or where you are in your life and who's paying for the wedding.
Right.
Right.
Right. And then you hear about these weddings of 1,000 people
Right.
and you like met this person once and you're like
Yeah. And
you're
flying there
invited.
to like Mumbai
Right.
or Mexico City.
I want to get on those lists. Kim.
I know.
the
It's
Ambani
like all you have to
wedding,
do is meet
thousands
them
of
once a
people.
year for coffee and you're invited. It's great. But no, that sounds like you really had your like signature all over your wedding, which
It was
is really
beautiful.
special.
It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And, it was a very special day. It was really everything we wanted it to be, which I think every girl and guy deserves.
Right. I agree.
What about any other like wedding things? Like, did you do an engagement party or anything?
We didn't have a formal engagement party. When we got engaged, and I'll tell you the story of how we got engaged, but when we got engaged, a bunch of our friends said, we want to take you out for dinner to celebrate. And we had too many people who asked us. So we just had all those people for dinner. So, whatever. But David and I had traveled for 3 weeks together in February, which again, it's all very quick.
Right.
And on the last few days of the trip, he asked if he could write to my father to ask for permission.
Okay.
So I really knew it was coming.
Yes.
And then he had lunch with my father, very respectful, old-fashioned. And my father was enthusiastic because it's so obvious that we are so happy together. Okay. So, my father said yes. And then David basically came back to our shared apartment and asked me to marry him. No ring.
Right.
And then we went out and we picked out a gold band, which is
Okay.
this ring.
Pretty.
And then this was enough for me, but then we designed this
So
ring,
cool.
which is like
Beautiful.
my dream ring.
It's
So
very unique.
I love the chunky gold. I love the shape. It's just different. But it was nice because it was like an evolution of the engagement.
Sounds like you're both on the same page. You
Right.
both like to do things together, and you did. And
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, most of my friends like kind of have been picking out rings with their fiance
or they should ask if
or
there's
tell
a
their
shape
fiance what
or
they
what
want.
shape they like.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or color of metal.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that's interesting,
Like,
right?
I
Yeah, because
really
that's
like
different because they
yellow.
used to have just platinum. Now it's gold. So
Yeah.
many of the rings are set in beautiful gold.
Yeah.
But I would just say, once you know, just think about what you want because it happens faster than you would think. So when
Yeah.
someone asks you, your ring size and you know what
I know.
your dream ring looks
It
like.
is my entire Instagram Discover page.
Okay.
Even without being in a relationship.
Okay.
So I totally feel that. In your experience, how do you think relationships kind of show or really change your overall like outlook on things like your business and your other relationships and life in general?
This relationship is really like La Vie en Rose. With David, I just see the world bigger, better, happier. And I've been in relationships where that was not the case. And it's so nice to be with someone who's so supportive and encouraging and empowering. And like I just want to grow my business. And I'm just, I just want everyone to see the book. And it's also nice because I can focus. When I was dating, it was like this constant buzz of like texting and then thinking about the text, and those thoughts, especially for people you're not going to proceed with,
Right,
are
it's a waste of time.
Waste of
thoughts.
time.
Yeah.
And imagine you just put that into your business
I
and you
know.
can make more beautiful candles or
Right.
Oh, yes, Kim, show the candles that Stephanie brought us.
They're on the table here.
I know, but pick them
those
up.
Anyway, they're for you to enjoy.
So pretty.
I'm gonna open them later. No, I totally feel that. I feel like it's hard though, because you don't know in that moment, is this my person?
Right.
But realistically, when you're stressing that much, it's probably
I think it's not.
not.
I think it's not.
Yeah.
I don't think you should be stressed. If you're stressed, it's not the right person.
Yeah. It's
I
probably
think it should.
true.
I think you should be happy. Everyone is always nervous. I mean, you'd be an idiot to go through life
Yeah.
and think that everything is rosy and
Sure.
everything is perfect. But I think if it becomes a stressful issue, then you got to look into yourself and why are you being stressed? Is it because you're not well suited together, or you have some kind of trepidation? So I think the listeners, if you're not stressed and you're happy, go with it.
But I would say the opposite, like with work, like with the book writing process. Were you stressed?
No, it was like a total joy of like creativity. To like sit and write a book
Yeah.
is like a total pleasure.
How long did it take?
It's my whole life of experience, but 2 years hardcore,
Oh, wow.
door to door, from like book deal to
Right.
publication.
Right. Okay. And did you write a little bit every day, or what was your process?
I had written, it's not only the writing, it's the photographs.
Right.
The photographs.
Well,
'cause
yours
she's
is
doing-
really a true like cookbook, coffee table.
150
Yeah.
full color images.
Right,
So,
wow.
and my publisher is Rizzoli.
Right.
So their level of
Was very high.
expectation with the imagery was very high. So I had to reshoot a lot. And then the text was really based on the images. No, there were some days I would just sit from 9 to 5 and write recipes, but some of it I had already. It just
Right.
depended.
Yeah. And then when it comes to stories, do they all relate to certain recipes or themes?
Yeah, I mean, I share a lot about how I grew up and all the happy stories of being around the table with my family, and like my life in France and how
Yeah,
that
because that's
really
interesting. That's a
Yeah.
little different than a normal cookbook.
Right. And what makes you you, and like
Right.
why this book's different than other books.
Yeah, and then each theme, like how I came to it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But before we move on, I was thinking ahead of this podcast about stories and dating and stuff, because I think that your stories are so beneficial to everyone listening. And I'll just say, and I asked David's permission before I shared this, but we were happy the night we met. We sat and talked for hours and hours, and then first date was perfect. Third, every date was perfect. And after 5 dates, he asked me to go on a trip with him.
Okay.
And I said, well, let's give this a try, basically asking him to be my boyfriend. And he got a little spooked.
Ah.
Meaning you said before we go on the trip, I think we should
Yes.
be exclusive or
Yes.
whatever. Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Before I go with him 8 days and leave my happy place
I
of
think
the
you're right.
Hamptons.
I think you're
Wait,
right.
that's so fun. Okay,
So,
continue.
I didn't get the response I wanted. But, so this is, it's very easy to say he's out.
Right.
He's not serious. But in the end, he really just was a little scared. And
Did you go on the trip?
No.
Oh, really?
No. Could you imagine you go on a trip with someone, you leave your happiest place,
Right.
you leave your friends, you leave your family
Right.
Yeah.
to take this risk with the guy
With
who
a
can't
stranger,
even
basically.
say,
Right.
you're my girlfriend.
I completely disagree.
You would go?
I would have gone. And I am very much like David, it sounds like, in some of my thinking. Like, I feel like if I know my intentions are in a certain way, but I don't feel like I'm emotionally, physically, whatever there yet, like, I want to be on my own timeline. Otherwise, I'm going to feel pressured and I'm not going to like want this, even if I do really like the person.
Yeah.
So
Well, then
I-
you wouldn't go on the trip.
No, I would have been him where I'd be like, let's go on the trip. But like, why do we have to be boyfriend and girlfriend?
But
Like,
then
let's
why
figure
not
that
keep
out.
going on dates where everyone has their own house to go home to? The thing
Because
is,
he thought it'd be fun to go
Yeah.
on a trip together.
well, we go on trips together.
Yeah, exactly. I get both ways, but I don't think of it in his position of like, I gonna have my cake and eat it too.
Right.
As much as I do, it's like, I like this girl. Like, this is another way I'm gonna get to know her
Right.
before we like label things.
Right.
And then you still could have had a fun trip and like looked back on it and you had a cool experience. But I also totally understand your decision. And
It's also self-protection. Like if I had
Right.
gone and then he said, this isn't going to
right,
work
but
out.
then you were more in.
Oh my God. Could
Yeah,
you
in love with
imagine the
that part.
heartbreak?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
get it. It's protective in a
Right.
way.
So everyone has to follow their instinct.
Yes. I like that story though. I feel like people will definitely relate to that and have their own take.
Well, their
on
own
it.
take. Yeah, everybody has their own opinion on what they would do.
Yeah. July 4th is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is like a great way to host a July 4th party? Any easy tips that kind of are always a hit?
Yeah. I love a sangria, a red, white, and blue sangria. So you
Cute.
can do with white wine and strawberries and blueberries, and it's a patriotic little cocktail.
Right.
You can do a flag cake, with all the berries. So
Right,
you can
and you
buy the
make a
cake from
flag.
Costco, or you can bake it, and you can put all the little berries, little flower arrangements, all the hydrangeas in blue and white, and you
pretty.
put them in a red vase, and you're pretty set.
Yeah, because it's hard not to be tacky when you're like red, white, and blue solo
No,
cups.
I think it's great. Everybody wants to do. It's not tacky. It's national holiday. It's
Yeah.
America.
America.
Let's just let's observe what is our country. And I think red, white, and blue is the
cute.
perfect theme for the day.
Yeah, I like those ideas. They're very tangible.
I still like hamburgers and hot dogs
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
apple pie.
that
Yeah.
too.
That's my. I'm not doing it. I'm going to 3 parties. None of them will have hot dogs and hamburgers
my
or
goodness.
apple
'Cause you're
pie.
too fancy.
But I know they get too fancy, and that's what I'm saying. What I would like to
Yeah,
do.
I'm going to a barbecue.
That's so
That's
fun.
what I like.
Yes. I want to end the episode with a game we play with all of our guests called Grandma Gail's Old Fashioned Dating Quiz. So they're
I think I know where
hypotheticals,
Stephanie's going to be.
and then we'll figure out whether you're more modern or traditional
Okay.
in your dating.
Okay.
And you're not dating anymore.
Hypothetical dating. Would you rather receive a call or a text from your husband if it's just to say hi?
Not
Call.
husband.
Oh,
Boy.
From the person you're
Right.
dating.
okay. Call.
Sleep with someone on the first date. Would you do it?
Never.
Dating apps or setups?
Setups.
Would you move in together before getting engaged?
Yes.
Okay. And who should pay for the date, or should you split or alternate?
Depends on the situation and the number of dates. And
Yeah.
I
Like
don't think it's
early
a
dating.
gendered thing. I think it's,
Yeah.
it's age, it's experience. I think that
Yeah.
just depends.
Well, you're definitely more traditional.
we
Which is
knew
what
that.
you were gonna guess.
We knew that.
Stephanie, tell everyone how they can follow you, check out your business, pre-order your book, everything you want them to know.
Chefney.com for all the products, Chefney on Instagram. And then the book is available for pre-order on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and also your local bookseller.
Amazing. Thank you for coming.
So
for
nice.
joining
It's
us.
going to be
you.
great. I can't wait to see the
I
book.
can't wait for you to see it.
I'm not going to do some of the recipes, I don't think, but I'm definitely going to do the table settings. I can't wait.
Yeah, we can try a little bit of both. We have
Our
excuse
cooking
my
is so
Yeah,
terrible.
but we have excuse my cooking, so
I
we
know,
can try it out.
Our cooking is so sad. We won't do justice to Stephanie's recipes.
And you can follow us at Excuse My Grandma on social media, and we will see you next week.
Bye.